How's it going, everyone? Wayne the Unknown here, and welcome to Geeking Out, where we basically discuss everything nerd and geek related. We are going to be doing another segment for Knowing That Artist, and I'm also joined here by another makeup artist, since I will now be talking to makeup artists along with artists who draw, and potentially more artists later down the road. I am joined here by drag queen and cosplayer Ant-Man. How are we doing tonight?
Hi, I'm doing very good. How are you?
I'm doing really well. Again, thank you for wanting to come on, and of course, also I have to thank
Of
Vespid.
course, I love to talk about me, so
Uh,
any opportunity.
and of course, I want to thank Vespid for him name dropping you and everything, along with a few
Yes.
others. So basically, we're gonna be knowing what it's like being a makeup artist, whether you do special effects makeup, regular makeup, and all sorts of that. So to begin, how long have you been doing makeup for, and how long have you been a makeup artist for?
Well, I guess I tried to make like a timeline to try to like explain this question because as I knew this is like a would be a question you would ask me. So I started doing community theater when I was 6, and that is kind of the like springboard into everything that I do now, in one way or another. Um, so like when I was 6, I wasn't doing like anything like crazy makeup wise. We probably weren't wearing any makeup at all, but like gradually in that community theater space, that's where I started doing makeup. So it was kind of a gradual thing, but that puts it at more or less 20 years, but not anything on the level that I do now any more recently than like 5 to 6, 7 years ago.
So you've been doing this since like the early 2000s, then?
Yes. Yeah. That would have been yeah, it would have been 2001, I guess, is when yeah, 2001 when I started doing community theater. And yeah, like I said, that's kind of the like if you know like the butterfly effect thing. That's the thing that like definitely has influenced everything in my life now.
Nice. So what's it been like doing not only makeup on yourself, but have you done makeup on others as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So I work in theater in regional theater now. And I've done a couple different I've done makeup for a couple different shows, theatrical shows. Probably the most involved one I've done was I did Don Giovanni for the
Ooh,
UNT opera.
that's
Um,
definitely an oldie right there. Nice.
yeah, how big is that cast? I think it was a cast of 30. And that's not me like hands on faces of 30 people, because that would be
Insane.
insane. That would be the whole day, and then they wouldn't have time for a show. So that wouldn't really be useful. But that is me like teaching people to do their own makeup, and then yes, some people I do have hands on the face, and I'm doing their makeup. But for the most part, it's like supervisory, like touch up things, and also doing the wigs for that show as well.
Nice. What's it been like doing make theater for makeup? I mean, makeup for theater. I had to reread that question.
Well, it's different from like your day to day makeup. It's different from like even like TV movie because in the theater we have something called the rule of 30 feet, which is that your closest audience member, like the person on the front row, they are 30 feet away from the actor, right?
Hmm.
uh, in most cases, or about that. You know, it's an approximation, right? But the idea being that that's the first person. So the majority of people are much further back than 30 feet. So usually you try to look at your work from 30 feet away, to make sure that everything is still reading. There's a trick I learned from my makeup professor at UNT, that if you stand 15 feet away from a mirror, you're
Hmm.
seeing yourself 30 feet away because that distance is doubled by the mirror.
Oh yeah, I know it is.
Yeah. So if you stand back from a mirror and look at yourself, and you're still seeing what you need to see in the makeup, then it's working.
So if it looks good from 30, if it looks good from 30 feet, if it's still good from 30 feet, you're good.
Yeah, that's the general rule. Yeah, rule of thumb kind of thing.
Nice.
Yeah, so that's the main thing that like is the difference between doing makeup for a like a person who is going to go like interact with other people. Uh, is everything has to be bigger, everything has to be more defined. Um, so like, if you're thinking about like contour and stuff, if you're doing contour on like a real person about to go into the real world, or like someone going to like being like TV or movie, that's going to be pretty subtle, if anything, right? I mean, well, nowadays, makeup people tend to want more contour than in history, but in the majority of people don't go out with contour on. Just maybe some light foundation, but in theater, you definitely want some kind of contour, some kind of what we call corrective makeup. Corrective makeup meaning like not that it's correcting anything, but it's correcting the lights washing you out essentially. That anything you put on stage, the stage lights are really good at what they do, and they're really harsh.
They definitely show that. They
Uh,
definitely show the makeup for sure if something's like too dark or too bright.
yes, yes. So you definitely want to get some good contrast in the like shadows and highlights on your face for stage makeup, because otherwise your face kind of looks featureless and like you have no nose from the if you're looking dead on. So
Yeah, I've heard and seen that a few times when like the lights are shining on the actor or whoever, like the light can really show if the makeup's too bright, and basically, like you said, it'll blend in with it'll like seem like it's invisible or blend in with the skin.
yeah, I learned my lesson. I learned my lesson with that when I was at UNT. Motherfucking Eagles. Oh, sorry. Can I cuss on this?
You are more than perfectly this podcast
Sorry.
this podcast doesn't air until like 5 p.m., so you're good.
And also, UNT doesn't like us to say that anyway. But anyway, I learned my lesson about stage lights at UNT. I designed the costumes for a play called Siege of Numancia, and which I won't get into it because it's kind of a long story to explain that plot. But it's the same author as Don Quixote, uh, and I had someone in the opening scene in this like pink robe. It's set at the it's not in the Roman Empire, but it's at that same time period, right? So
Mhm.
you're thinking like that toga type of tunic,
Yep.
the type of tunic that would be under a toga. If there's any other people that know their costume history, don't correct me. I know what I'm talking about. But it was that kind of tunic, and it was like this pinkish color, and I had dyed it to be this pinkish color because I wanted it to have a red quality to it. And then I found out that that scene was going to be lit entirely in green light.
Oh no.
So I didn't. I mean, it looked. I mean, it's not like it looked bad. It just looked like, why'd I dye this a specific color? So anyway, talk to the other designers. If you're a theatrical designer, you should talk to the other designers, especially the lighting designer, because their work affects everyone's.
I'm sure that's to be good for a podcast later down the road. So you studied makeup at UNT. What was that like?
Oh yeah. UNT has a really great theater program. I highly recommend it. If there's anyone listening right now who is in that phase of their life where they're looking at colleges and considering a theater degree. I definitely recommend UNT. The There's only one class on the like uh, what is the I can't remember the term for it. But there's only one makeup class essentially offered at UNT. And what am I trying to say? There's only really one makeup class offered at UNT normally. I did take an extra like elective like thing with a couple other students for like a makeup. We called it makeup two because we really didn't have a name for the class. Um, So I had, like I said, I started in community theater, and I kind of had like an understanding of makeup from that. Um, and but UNT is where I really like got to like hone those skills and had some more like professional people, giving me notes and helping me to hone my skills. Um, so I really enjoyed my time at UNT. I really got a lot out of that. I usually say that, like, not to be cynical, but like half the reason to get a theater degree is to like make connections, because some things about the entertainment industry, it's like it is about who you know. But I do like to say that who you know will get you hired once, and what you know will get you hired again. So you know, you have to have the skills to back up uh, the nepotism. But anyway, yeah, no, I got a lot out of my time at UNT. A lot of my technique comes from those type of theatrical makeup classes. Like, because I don't think I know I talked about this before we started recording, but I also do cosplay and I go to conventions and stuff. And the makeup I do for that is very different from what a lot of people wear in those situations. And people ask me like, what, like, about like the foundation I'm wearing. I'm like, this is Ben Nye. This is like the theater makeup. But no one in cosplay generally wears that.
Now, you also do drag makeup. What is it
Yes.
like? What is it like now? What is it? And some people will probably ask me why I'm asking this. What is the difference between regular makeup and drag makeup? I know that's a question that a lot
Oh
of people
yeah.
are probably like,
Well,
why did you ask that?
no, I totally understand why you're asking that. I guess to put kind of a point on it, drag makeup also tends to be bigger. Those same principles I was talking about before for like the rule of 30 feet and stuff, like theater stuff, that's also a factor in drag makeup because you're like on a stage performing, so that stage principles apply to that as well. And drag queens especially tend to be very, very heavily contoured, very heavily highlighted. Those highlights and shadows very clearly delineated, because with drag makeup especially, you're trying to like create different facial features a lot of the time. That's kind of a generalization. I mean, everything I'm saying, I can think of at least one exception to it. But in general, with drag makeup, it's also very big. It's certainly bigger than anything you're going to see anybody wearing on the street.
Now, what made you want to start doing drag makeup?
Okay. I'm trying to think of the timeline of this. So the first inclination that I had to do any kind of, well, I'll preface this by saying that I'm a cis man. I am a cis man who does drag.
Nothing wrong with that at all.
No. But I'm just saying that's me. That's where I am. That's my experience. But the first inclination I had to do drag at all was, again, it goes back to the community theater. We were doing Annie, and if you're familiar with Annie, can you guess what character made me think I wanted to play a woman? It was Miss Hannigan.
I was about to say, was it
Yeah,
the mean lady?
No, yeah, it was Miss Hannigan. Is the Carol Burnett character? If you've watched that might be from the 80s, I think. Yeah,
Late 70s, early 80s. Yeah.
was it? Okay, yeah. I don't know. Anyway, the earliest Annie movie, I believe it is, where Carol Burnett plays that part. And I was like, yeah, I want to be. Well, I was like 14, 13 at the time. So not like I really had any kind of experience of this, but I was like, yeah, I want to be making bathtub gin and be mean to small children. That sounds extremely glamorous to me. Yeah, so I was told I could not audition for that part. But it did. That was kind of the like domino, like that domino meme. I'm told I cannot audition for Miss Hannigan, and then the big like wall-sized domino is my current situation. So yeah, so that was the first inclination I had that I wanted to do anything, because I honestly, I like in like watching that movie with Carol Burnett. Carol Burnett's hilarious. I don't know if you're
No,
familiar with her.
I'm familiar with Carol Burnett.
Okay, yeah. Anyone who's listening who's not, you should familiarize yourself with Carol Burnett. One of the funniest people alive. Oh wait, is she? She is still alive. Right? Yes,
she's still alive. Yeah.
Okay. But in any event, yeah, watching that movie, I was like, I didn't have it. It didn't have anything to do with like the gender of it. To me, honestly, I was just like, that is the character that I relate to. is this Miss Hannigan character? I was like, seems like it'd be a fun role to play. And I kind of like, I was cognizant of the fact that that was not really the role for me, because I was a boy. But yeah, and then because of that, because I showed an interest in playing Miss Hannigan, I was introduced to the concept of drag, and I was like, huh, okay. And then RuPaul's Drag Race, I think RuPaul's Drag Race would have been on the air when that happened, but I was a child, so I wasn't watching it. And then I watched, probably illegally because it was 2012 or whatever, but I watched the fourth season of RuPaul's Drag Race, because when I was looking at, I was looking at like RuPaul's Drag Race because I was interested in it. I wanted to watch it, and I saw of the winners. Spoiler alert, I guess. But I for a decade old season of TV, but of the winners I was looking at, I was like Sharon Needles, who, again, I don't know if you're familiar with her, but she's very like horror, very spooky.
Mm-hmm. I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. I was like, oh, that is what I would want to be. If I was a drag queen, that's what I'd want to be. So I watched season 4 of RuPaul's Drag Race because I knew she was going to win. And I was like, okay, let me try this on myself. And it didn't go well because nothing ever goes well the first time you do it, right?
Trial and error. That's what we call it.
Exactly. Yeah, I always, anyone who ever like, because occasionally I'll get like a teenager or whatever commenting on one of my posts online, and asking me about like my skills or whatever, and I do delineate that it's a skill and not a talent. The application of makeup is a skill. It's a skill that anyone can learn. It just takes time and practice to learn it.
Oh no, most definitely.
Not that talent isn't involved in any way, but it is. But you can learn to do makeup, no matter who you are.
No, I wholeheartedly agree on that.
What was that a tangent of? What was I talking about?
How we were talking about what got you into doing drag queen makeup.
Oh yeah, so Sharon Needles. I tried to do that on myself. And again, to go back to the community theater thing, because that's what I was doing like 5 nights out of the week, all through elementary, middle, and high school. We were doing The Little Mermaid, and I don't need to tell you what character I wanted to play in The Little Mermaid. Thank you.
Her makeup is flawless, by the way.
I did get to audition for Ursula. I did not get it, but I was allowed to audition, and that placated me enough. But
she's the biggest queen of all.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and her design. I mean, this is kind of one of those like little known facts that everyone knows. But like her design is based on the drag queen Divine.
Yep. No. Yeah. I'm fully aware of who Divine is.
Yeah, absolutely. So after we closed that show, we were gonna have a lock-in after. That was always the plan.
Right.
And we decided. I can't remember in what particular order this happened, but one way or another, we had decided, and we did eventually get the approval of the director to do this, was that after Little Mermaid closed, like Little Mermaid, we had our final performance like Sunday afternoon, whatever, and then we strike the set, get all the costumes ready to go out to dry cleaning, all that, and then we just like stay the night, right? What we decided we were going to do was that we would, at the beginning of that lock-in, we would do a drag show version of The Little Mermaid.
Nice.
So I did play Ursula in that. Um, my best friend to this day played all the props, and including the magic shell that Ursula uses, which is very fun. Yeah, so it was very like there was no rehearsal for that. We just kind of did it, but also we had been rehearsing that show and like as our parts we were actually playing, and so we kind of like had a general idea of like how the staging and sort of things should go. So yeah, so I did that, and that was me. That the makeup I did for that was me more or less trying to emulate Sharon Needles and Divine and whatever other like drag queens had like filtered into my perception. I think at that time I was aware of like Coco Peru. Yeah, but anyway, it wasn't good because of course it wasn't. But we all had fun. And there's a video of that does exist still. So then what would be the next thing after that? I guess I continued practicing after that. Not a whole lot because there weren't a lot of occasions for me to try to do makeup or anything, too expressive or grand. Every once in a while in the like community theater type of setting, I would have the opportunity to like try something different on myself or on someone else. But I really did stick more to costumes than makeup at that time. Which I mean, I still do costume work, but and I do more costume work. Oh, we were talking. This is something we were talking about off before we started. But I do more costume work mainly because there's more costume jobs than makeup jobs in theater. Just generally speaking, at least in Dallas. I don't know about other cities with.
I cannot tell you
yeah.
honestly.
But in any event, yeah. So we did the Little Mermaid drag show. I kept practicing doing makeup and everything. Every once in a while, I would get the opportunity to do something in like a theater setting. And I did do one play in high school where we the plot of this play is that there is it starts with an old woman on a bench, and then someone comes in and tries to steal her purse, and then the little old lady stands up, takes off her wig, and is like, "Actually, I'm an undercover cop, and you're under arrest." But their radio is broken and they can't call for backup. So they handcuff that robber to the bench at the park, and they're going to come back in a minute when they have backup. And then another little old lady comes in, played by me in this particular instance, which was that was the joke, was like the red herring that this is another undercover cop, but actually no, this is a real old lady. And yeah, so hijinks ensue, and I think my character got knocked out at some point, so they're like Weekend at Bernie's-ing me. Yeah. So I did like that, and that is also me like trying to practice old age makeup, which is difficult also, but also something that can be learned with time and practice. But I did not have either of those at that point in time. So that, and then I did like when I graduated high school, I did we had like a, I can't remember what we called it. We had some kind of beauty pageant is what it was referred to as, but what it actually was like a shitty drag show. So I won that because of course I did. And at that point, my makeup skills still weren't. I still wouldn't say they were good then, but there was some improvement. I I have very thick eyebrows also, so I was trying to. That was in the period of life where I was still trying to cover my eyebrows. I eventually I've now given up on trying to do that with any amount of consistency. Um, I did that, and then so I graduated high school, and then I go to UNT, and that's kind of where the like real like actual professional training like gets me to a point that I'm like, oh, I actually like when I actually have regular practice, I'm good at this. Um, and I would, I would do things for the shows we had at UNT. We did the Crucible, which is also a big cast show. It's a cast of like 27, something like that. And I I did the makeup rendering for every single one of those people, which was that alone was an undertaking. And a lot of that was old age makeup because it's college age kids playing. Crap! I thought I could think of a character from the Crucible, and I can't.
That's perfect. Okay.
Who's the more weight guy? Whatever. I'll think of it later. But in any event, yeah, it was the characters from the Crucible who mostly are middle aged to elderly, and so a lot of them had old age makeup. Luckily, on that show, I had a good like crew that I was working with that could help everyone, so I didn't have to be the only person helping. And also that show, not always, but our production does have some like blood and gore and stuff, because there is a scene at the end where Proctor, who's the main, I hesitate to call him the main character but he is definitely like the most prominent male character in that show. He comes out from the prison or dungeon or whatever they would have actually called it back then. And it's made clear in the dialogue that he has not been treated well by the people of Salem. And so our director was like, I want him to look bloody and beaten up and horrible. And I was like, okay, he will. So he came out. It wasn't anything crazy because also that was like a quick change into that. He had like, I think 3 minutes to change costume and makeup into that. So we had to really like throw some stuff onto him. So there was the wardrobe, which for anyone who isn't familiar with the terminology, wardrobe typically refers to the people who are like backstage helping to dress and do laundry and that sort of thing. Anything that's happening like during the show itself. So the wardrobe crew is there to help him change out of his, normal attire into his prison costume, which was really just a more beaten up version of the other thing. But and so then we go in and add like blood spots and things to where the holes are in the costume, essentially. But yeah, we figured out how to do that in 3 minutes, and we did it. Nice.
One of the sorry for interrupting. One of the
go ahead.
One of the questions I want to ask you about you to save time here real quick. So I want to talk about some of the makeups you've done.
Oh yeah.
Sorry, I don't mean to change the show subject here.
No, you're good. I'm kind of rambling on at this point. Because we just about caught up with the present, honestly.
Nice. No, again, I think doing the theater makeup and what you've done in theater is really, it sounds like you've definitely done a lot, seen a lot, and everything. Well, actually, before we go on to your makeups, ever had any makeup mishaps, whether it's on yourself or an actor when you're were doing their makeup for theater?
Oh, it's not really a mishap, but this is a funny story, I think. When I did Don Giovanni, I've already talked about, already mentioned that. It was double cast because operas often are, because it's very very taxing on the throat. to do an opera every night. Um, but the one of the sorry, I shouldn't have said the actor, should have said singer. They're very particular about that in opera. One of the singers playing Don Giovanni, um, he would sweat so much, and like I would try all the powder, all the setting spray in the world, um, but we would be touching him up every time he was off stage. Bless his heart. It's like every time he had like more than 5 minutes off stage, which is not often for a title character in an opera, we would be like, dabbing dabbing some sweat off and reapplying some eyeliner or whatever we had time to do.
Um, Now I know this is like one thing. When I was talking to Vespid, they were talking about how
Mm.
one of the actors had latex allergy, and they didn't even tell him. Ever
Mm.
had that happen where, as soon as you put the makeup on, they tell you they have an allergy, and they don't tell you beforehand when doing their makeup.
I have not had anything like latex, like allergy wise, like that. Um, did have someone one time in my costume work. I was doing wardrobe crew for a show, and I when when I'm designing a show, I usually go in and I make sure to ask the actors these questions beforehand, just to make sure we don't have any mishaps like that. But I didn't. I wasn't on this show from the beginning. I was just doing wardrobe, so I just came in at dress rehearsal. But one of my responsibilities as wardrobe on that show was to wash the costumes, and I was using just whatever detergent I had at the time. And turns out that had some kind of perfume in it or something that made somebody uh they didn't get like hives or anything, but they did have like a pretty bad rash. And so we but we get a less severe detergent and we wash it again, and everything's good the next day.
Nice. Now on to the makeups you've done. Let me get to your Instagram here because there's some makeups I want to ask what it was like doing and everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
While I'm doing that, what would you say the most challenging makeup is that you've done in yourself?
Um, boy. Let me think. The most challenging. Huh. I certainly have had a long journey with the Grinch.
Yeah,
'Cause,
I see he's the one that you like have the most. I see like different versions.
yes. Yeah, 'cause the first time I did the Grinch was at was just for a party, a Christmas party, um, in 2017. And then that was actually, well, I don't know. Again, the whole thing of like all of my skills kind of like start at community theater, and then somewhere along the line, I learned to do it a little bit better. But the first time I went to a the first time I was doing cosplay and calling it that, I guess, was IkiCon in 2017. And so I just gone to that party as the Grinch, and I was like, oh well, let me take that to IkiCon. And so then that has become a thing I do now. Whatever conventions I'm going to in November and December, I usually will take the Grinch. So yeah, the point being, I have had now that would be 5 Christmas seasons of Grinch. So the makeup has evolved there. I initially wanted to kind of like stray away from the like Jim Carrey version of the Grinch,
And go more
just
towards like
because,
the book animated version.
right? Just because, for one thing, I knew I wasn't going to be, especially if it was going to be a thing I do every year at every convention I go to in that time period. I don't want to wear a prosthetic all day long. um, you know, I truthfully, I don't have a whole lot of experience with prosthetics, but I have done them before, and I wouldn't want to wear it all day at a convention. So I was trying to figure out something that worked more with the natural shape of my face. But slowly it's become more and more wrinkles on the face, and a little bit of it being inspired by that Jim Carrey version of the Grinch.
Well, yeah, you do answer my question about one of the makeups I was gonna ask you. Um, so, so when Vespid was telling me about you and everything, when giving me people to interview for
Uh
this,
huh.
the picture that showed up that she sent me of your Instagram link was of your him Kruger. What was it like? What was it like doing a makeup of the King of Nightmare versus the King of Sass?
Excellent. I love the way you said that. I get the way I came to that idea was that I wanted to do I wanted to have some kind of him, because him is also another character that I cosplay regularly, um, which is why I had like the claw on hand for that photo shoot. Um, but so I wanted to have some kind of version of him for Halloween. And so I was looking for like a red blouse that I could use for that. Seeing if there's anything I could like buy that would be a good blouse for that character. And I found that sweater that I'm wearing. I'm assuming that if you're looking at the YouTube video, you're seeing a picture of it now.
Yeah, the
Um,
one where it's wearing the Powerpuff Girls
yeah,
heart.
right. Yeah. So if you're just listening to the audio of this, it's a sweater that essentially looks like the end or beginning of the Powerpuff Girls with the hearts, the pink and red hearts. And I was looking for a blouse for him, and I'm seeing this heart sweater that is exactly looks like it is ripping off the Powerpuff Girls, honestly. um, and I'm like, this could not be more perfect. So I was looking at that, and I was like, well, what else could I wear with this? And I was like, could I wear one of my pink wigs? Usually when I do him, I'll wear a pink wig of some kind. And the more I was looking at it, I was like, what? I was like, there's something else that this sweater is reminding me of, and I was like, oh, it's Freddy Krueger. It's because of the striped part. The parts of it that look like stripes are reminding me of Freddy Krueger, and I was like, actually, that would be kind of perfect. Because the first episode of Powerpuff Girls that him is on, he is invading the dreams of Bubbles and encouraging her to attack her friends, which is the plot of Nightmare on Elm Street 2.
Yeah, it actually is. Yeah.
Um, uh, Funny enough, though, I did not know that at the time. Before I did this, before I had not watched a single Nightmare on Elm Street movie. So I had the idea to do this, and I was like, okay, well, I need to actually watch Nightmare on Elm Street if I'm gonna do this. So I watched the first three movies because I was told by people who know things about horror movies that those are the like core of the
They pretty much are.
of
Yeah.
yeah. I'll probably get around to watching the other ones at some point. Uh, but anyway, I watched those three, and I was like, okay, yeah, this absolutely is a perfect combination. And I ordered that hat also, a pink fedora hat to go with the whole thing. And I figured, you know, he's also Freddy Krueger normally has the like knife hand, so I'll wear one of my claw gloves that I already had because it's a character I already cosplay.
Nice. I mean, it looks really well done.
Thank you.
So what was the process of doing the face makeup on him Kruger?
Yeah. A lot of it is this is really the makeup on the face for this. Well, I don't have any makeup on my body for this look either. But the point being, this isn't really different from how I do him normally. Um, so and other than the shape of the eyes, it's not different from like well, no, that's not true because I do the nasal labial folds too. Yeah. Maybe this is what I'll do for the video to go along with this, so that I can kind of show what I'm talking about. For anyone who isn't familiar with facial anatomy, nasal labial folds are the like smile lines are also sometimes what they're called. The lines from like the bottom of your nose to your like the corners of your mouth.
I always wondered what that term meant. Thank you. I learned
Yeah,
something
the
new.
labial fold is that's like the anatomical name for that. Um, and that is something that I've learned to do for like old age makeup. But it also kind of if you do a softer like you can do a hard line version of it that looks more like old age, or you can do a softer version of it that just looks like you're smiling very hard. No matter what facial expression you have actually on, you kind of look like you're smiling. Um, because the apples of the cheeks, like the round cheeks, make you look like you're smiling. Um, so I think I did a TikTok of me getting into this makeup. So what I normally do for drag makeup or for anything that has to be like extremely contoured, like very distinct contour shapes, um, I put my highlight on, which sometimes, especially if I'm doing something colorful like him, my face is completely orange. So my highlight is clown white. It's midnight clown white, which is like a clown white. It's a white foundation makeup, essentially, and I put that on the spots I want highlight, and then I take whatever I'm using for my shadows. In the case of Hemi Kruger, I think what I was using for contour on this was also a Ben Nye cream color. I think it's the dark red. I think it's from the Bruises wheel. I think what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be like a like spot where like the blood is pooling at your skin for a bruise. But it makes a good contour for like a red face or an orange face as well. Um, so I do my highlight and my shadows, and then I add the base color, which in this case was an orange Ben Nye cream color, and then kind of use that to blend them together. Um, I don't do that if I'm trying to do anything more subtle, because the reason I do it that way, if I'm doing something more subtle, you're not going to see anything like that on my Ant-Man Instagram account, honestly, because it's all uh, more direct. Actually, I think that might be my. I'm looking at my Instagram right now. I think my Penelope Ever pedal, the which if you're not familiar with Dimension 20, is the one where my eyes are blacked out and I have a crown made of glass on my head. Um, I think that is a more subtle look. And like what I would do for that is I would do the whole face in my mid-tone foundation color, and then I would add highlights and shadows to that. Um, but if I want the highlights and shadows to be extreme, I just go straight in with those because that way I'm not trying to I'm not trying to make it darker where it's already a mid-tone. I'm just adding the darker to where it needs to be. If that does that make sense? I don't know
Yeah,
if it
no,
does. Okay.
that perfectly. No, I have to say, really, really well done. How many layers did you have to put on your face so you can't see your actual skin color?
Um, I it's for me and my process and the products I normally use. It's not normally about layers. Because like the process I was just describing with like doing just your just your just your highlights and shadows and then adding the midtone to that. Um, I mean that's all really like one layer, right? And then I'll add a powder on top of that and and usually uh, setting spray. But So for me, it's not normally about layers. I know some people with certain makeups, you want to like layer them on, but that's one of the reasons I use Ben Nye or Mayron is also good. I've been I've been shilling for Ben Nye this whole time, but which
Maron is a really good brand too.
but Mayron also has some Mayron's theatrical stuff is also pretty good. Is a similar product as well. And if you're allergic to certain types of makeup, Mayron is probably better Ben Nye. But Ben Nye is just is an older company, so they have a lot more like selection, which is why I usually go for that. But I have plenty of Mayron products as well. Does that answer your question? I don't know if I really.
It did anyway.
Okay.
Two more questions before I ask the final one.
Yeah.
The one that's from Beastars that you did the makeup for that, is that supposed to be Legoshi from Beastars?
Oh, okay.
I couldn't tell if that was supposed to be a Muppet because it's all Beastar. So what was the process behind that? Because I'm curious now.
Yeah. So this is actually yeah, so this is supposed to be. I don't have any pictures on that. I should have put a picture on an Instagram post. Actually, now I'm looking at it, but it's supposed to be Six Eyes, the snake security guard.
I'm looking up the character right. So,
Yeah,
I'm looking.
that's actually a look I definitely want to redo.
Okay, I'm looking at it
I
now
don't.
because when I saw like the fur and the blue hair, I thought that was
Oh, you're talking about something else.
yeah.
You're talking about no, that's Dawn. That is from Beastars, and I do see why that looks like a Muppet now. Yeah.
I could tell that like who
um,
was the character?
no, it's Dom. He's a peacock, and he's also one of the reasons I picked him as a character to cosplay was that he's also the costume designer for the theater club in Beastars.
Okay, how do you spell his name? Is it Don?
Yep, yeah, Dom. Exactly how you think it is spelled. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I see it. Okay, wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty clever. Oh, wow, that is okay. So since it's actually a part of makeup, as I noticed in your Hem Kruger, where did you get the eyelashes
Oh,
for both Dawn and for both Hem Kruger?
that is a fantastic question. So, for both of those, the thing that you're probably responding to in the eyelashes is probably cardstock
Really?
that I cut into little triangles and glued into my eyelashes. Yeah, not into
That
my own eyelashes, but into a set of fake
Oh,
eyelashes.
okay. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm zooming in right now on Dawn, and yeah, okay, yeah, I can see that you. Wow, that's
yeah,
that's cardstock. I mean, for anyone who's listening, if you can't get like the actual cardstock, is the way to go.
yeah. And also, I mentioned this one before, but if my Penelope Everpetal from Dimension 20, who I guess this makeup look is kind of a spoiler for the first season, but you know it is what it is. But I did some eyelashes for that as well that are also made of cardstock that are just these like twisted like bramble looking things. I'll send you a link so you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I'm looking at Lucrezia Bracala from Dimension 20. Okay.
uh,
No, look. Oh, never mind.
yeah, yeah,
I'm just
yeah.
yeah.
I've done a couple Dimension 20, which but also a very good show. I enjoy that not enough people watch.
Nice.
But yeah, Lucretia also I did. I do have some. I think those are my. Yes, yeah. I was wearing the ones I'm wearing in that because it was. Yeah, those are my my bisexual my bisexual flag eyelashes from Pride that I only got. I
Nice.
only wore those once during Pride Month, so I reused them again for that look.
Nice. So two more questions. Oh, actually, one, two, two more because you actually
However many, I'm good.
you brought it up. What was it? So you've done prosthetics before. What was it? What's it like having prosthetic makeup on you?
It's uncomfortable, 100% of the time, always. I will say, that's something very simple. And I don't have, like I said, I'm not a total expert in prosthetics, but I do have some experience making prosthetics and some experience using prosthetics. Um, it is a more involved process, and I wouldn't recommend it for like a long event. But for like for just a show, for like a theatrical show or a filming for something for a TV or movie or whatever, I think can be it definitely changes the face. It's something that is like as much as I can do, or as much as I like to think I can do, of changing the actual facial features with just different shadows and highlights on the face. You really can't match what you can do with prosthetics. And there's some people out there doing some really amazing stuff with them.
Oh no, most definitely. And also a follow up on that. Have you ever done full on body paint to yourself or to anyone else?
No, I have not. No, if I didn't, I'm trying to think what I've done with body paint. I haven't really. Um, I a long time ago, or a couple of years ago, I cosplayed Hera from Lore Olympus and did paint my hands yellow for that. But I didn't go anywhere with that because I was like, I know this is not going to be a good. This wouldn't be a good experience for
It's
like going to a
a
con.
lot of yellow. That's all I have to say.
Yeah.
Actually,
Um,
I'm looking at I think it's yeah. I'm looking at it right now. It's like from 2019. Yeah, you
yeah,
definitely
it
did
was a little
like
while back. Yeah.
yeah. Oh, wow, that's yeah. She's a lot of yellow.
Yeah.
I'm looking at her right now, and she's really well done too.
Thank you. Yeah, for anyone who's not familiar with Lore Olympus, everyone is like it is almost everyone is very monochromatic. Um,
That's an
like in the case of
understatement.
Hera, she has yellow skin, yellow hair,
Hair.
usually wears yellow clothes. Yeah.
Yeah. And last but not least, any advice for those who are considering on wanting to get into like doing special effects makeup or any kind of makeup for whether it be for theater, a fan project, film, TV, stuff like that?
Yeah, I kind of said this before, but practice, 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 practice. Everything that I can do because I practiced it. Everything that anyone can do is because they practiced it. So you, the more you practice, the better you're gonna get. Even if you like pick it up really well and you like take to it and you're doing pretty good right out the gate, you can always get better. There's always something else you can learn. I learn new makeup things all the time, and from watching other artists and things, and I'm like, oh, that's something I might try to incorporate into mine. Uh, every once in a while, you find something that another artist is doing, and you kind of steal that and incorporate into your own.
Nice. No, some really sound advice, and I can definitely tell throughout your almost nearly 20 years of doing this, you've definitely been through a lot of that trial and error, and especially you worked your ass off to get to where you are now.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it is work. And I will say also, if anyone's considering doing this as a career, and I don't want to discourage anyone, but there are things about doing anything as a the career part makes it suck, for lack of a better word, I guess. There's gonna be things about it as a job that make it kind of suck. Like I don't love networking stuff because I don't love socializing and feeling like it is a game that I'm trying to like force myself into this person's thoughts. But I do that stuff because it will help with my career and because also I do genuinely enjoy making connections with other people in my industry. But there's certain things doing something as a job that you're not going to love, but you have to make sure that you love the fun part of it enough that that is worth it.
Oh no,
Um,
wholeheartedly
there's
agree.
a thing that uh, I don't know that I don't think this is like a widely said thing, but there's a thing that a lot of people in my like circle of theater artists say, which is that a bad day in the shop is better than a good day at another job. And as long as that's true for you, then a career in the arts is worth it, I think.
Nice. I think that should about do it. Any last minute thing you'd like to add in here before we end this podcast?
No, I guess like, follow me on whatever. I'm the Aunt Man, the AUNT man on Instagram, TikTok, Venmo, whatever. Um, you know, look me up. follow me, whatever.
Links to all those will be in the description below. Again, Antman, thank you for coming on for this special segment for knowing that artist. Looking forward to eventually probably working to more collaborating more in the future. And for any
Absolutely.
as I said, be sure to check them out on Instagram and all the other social media to look at some more amazing makeup. So, yeah, again, I'm Wendy Unknown. Thank you for listening to this episode for Geeking Out. As always, until next time, thank you for watching.